Yes, you beautiful people, and welcome to episode 23 of the Reprogram Your Mind podcast. Guys, I'm so happy with how the podcast's going. I've had so many nice messages from you guys, comments on the videos on YouTube. The views are through the roof, and I just want to say, following on from last week's video and the multiple videos we've done about gratitude, thank you so much. It means the world to me to have this opportunity and this platform to be able to make a difference and know that it's impacting people. Literally means the world to me. So thank you so much. So today we're going to talk about an interesting subject. Intimate relationships. Like the level at which I've ended up becoming a relationship coach over the years is something that I never ever could have imagined, and the learnings that I've had along the way with it are just crazy that I've actually ended up kind of studying it. Now, our intimate relationships are shaped by small daily choices, decisions and actions. But also, before I get into how we operate in a relationship with some learnings, I want to just give you an insight that I learned into people that think they need to be in a relationship to be happy and why so many relationships fail. So I always remember the line in Jerry Maguire, right? When she says, "You complete me," right? That is the wrong way to look at it. You should never be looking for another person to complete you in a relationship. Now, most people think they're a C and they're walking around looking for another C or a D to make a circle. And when they find their dream partner, when they find this person who's going to fulfill all of their needs, they'll finally be happy. Trust me on this thing, they won't. And there's two angles I want to look at this with you. So first of all, it's not attractive because you're looking and needing to find someone else to be happy, and needs will always change. So love, first of all, has to be unconditional. It can't be conditional. Love is love. Like, it can't be, I love you if you earn a certain amount of money. I love you if you can provide for me and protect me. I love you if we have sex so many times per week. I love you if you can give me a child. I love you if X, Y, Z, input anything, right? Whenever love is based on needs, it becomes a transaction. One person is getting something from the other person. And people get into relationships for many reasons. Some it's loneliness, some it's sex, some it's money, some it's procreation, some it's because they can't bring the kids up on their own. It could be any number of reasons. Now, before I go off on too much of an ADHD tendency, those relationships aren't based on love and connection, they're based on needs. And as I said, when needs change, then they'll outgrow the relationship. So before I talk into who you need to be, before looking to get into a relationship, I want to give you the reality of what happens here, especially in the UK. So if you are a lonely person and you're a bit depressed and you're a bit down, the person that's generally looking for somebody else to make them happy, they're looking for somebody else to fill that void. And as long as you're looking for someone to do that and you're not getting that internally, trust me, you're always going to get burned and your relationships will always fail. Now, what normally happens is when said lonely person is lonely, well, let's go back before the days of Tinder and Bumble and Hinge and all these dating sites. Where did that person go? Well, normally to the pub. And they're a bit down and their life's not great. So they probably took some drugs or drunk a lot of alcohol in order to escape life. And then they meet someone who they're mirroring, someone else who's escaping life at the pub, someone else who's drinking and taking narcotics. And momentarily, two said lonely, depressed, lost people fill each other's void. They go home and they have sex. under the influence of drugs and alcohol, which is not real sex, by the way. That's not real intimacy, and certainly if it's not on the first night. But if by any stroke of luck they end up, especially for the woman, they end up having an orgasm, and this can be especially prominent with ADHD because of how quickly the mind can get attached and think it's in love in 5 minutes. Said couple actually think they're in love. They didn't. They just got pissed. They filled each other's loneliness and they had a good fuck. End of story. But especially with ADHD, and it's really bad this because it can be called love bombing, which can really hurt people, which can be a form of narcissism. But also someone with ADHD can literally seriously think they're in love after one date because their mind's going so fast. If you're on the other end of it, it can be very overpowering and you can run a mile. If you're the person that's giving it and feeling it, it can be very, very destructive because it will normally get rejected, okay? So, but again, before I go off on a tangent. So then 3 months down the line, couple are still getting pissed. They're still feeling each other's loneliness. They're still having great wild sex every weekend. And all of a sudden then she becomes pregnant. And all of a sudden they can't party anymore. And they're not having sex as much because she's pregnant. And all of a sudden, when all of that's taken away, they realise that the entire relationship was only based on loneliness and alcohol. Unfortunately, very often then the child's been born, and we see it millions of times. After however many weeks, the relationship breaks down. Normally the dad F's off and the woman's left bringing up the baby on their own. That's the reality of a relationship that started for the wrong reasons. And you have to be so careful. So the reason why I'm telling you all this is just to give you a bit of background into the work that I've done on relationships. Now, when a relationship works, and trust me, ladies and men, this is on both sides, there's nothing more attractive than a man or a woman on a mission that doesn't need anyone. They are just on a mission. And this is when love and connection happens in true relationships, okay? It's when someone who's a 10 out of 10 on their own, they're a full circle, they don't need anyone else. They've got a great career, they're in great shape, they look after themselves, they're not depressed, their energy's on fire, they don't escape life, they're just happy and content on their own. When that said person meets another person who's also on a mission and happy and content on their own, that's when the sparks fly. That's when the magic happens, because that's not a transaction. They don't need each other for anything. They're choosing to be together through love and connection, not through needs. So hopefully that might give you a bit of an insight into where possibly relationships, if you're watching this and they have gone wrong in the past, have gone wrong. Because the other thing that you also can't do is the same as coaching with body transformations and any type of business plan or life change, right? I say this to people when they join my body transformation plan. I coach people with ADHD, business leaders, entrepreneurs, CEOs and high performers to get in the best shape of their life. Now, you can't take the old you into a new plan and expect a new result. You're just going to waste new money on the same old result. You can't go into something new without changing. And relationships are the same. You can't have like a big Santa sack and collect up all of the troubles, all of the garbage, all of the rubbish, all of the doubts, all of the limiting beliefs, basically all of the crap from all your previous relationships, put it all in a big bin bag, chuck it over your shoulder and go trotting into your new relationship with it. It won't work, okay? And you also can't get into a relationship because you're lonely. Trust me, a person who's lonely on their own will be lonely in a relationship. Like, you could put a deeply lonely person in a stadium full of people, they'll still be lonely because it's an internal thing. So if you're that person who's looking to find love, you're either going to repel it because it's not attractive, or you're going to end up with the same needy person who's looking for love as well and thinks that that's the answer to all their prayers. So focus on you. Focus on being a full 10 on your own, and then you're going to give out what you attract. You're going to get what you're giving out. You're going to attract what you're giving out. So, and again, it works the other way. You know, if you're looking for love, you're not going to find it, because you'll find another person who's looking for love. And if you're both looking for love, that means you're both a little bit lost and you're feeling like you need someone else. You need to remember that your happiness is your responsibility, and someone else's happiness isn't your responsibility, it's theirs. So some big relationship insights there as well. Some other big relationship insights I've learned over the years as well are how it's changed over time and how it's become different before we get onto this coaching session. So if you go back into the old days, you know, men were very much men and women were very much women. That might sound a little bit controversial, but generally the female was in her feminine. She brought the kids up, she birthed the children, she put food on the table, and she looked after the home. The man went to work and he earned the crust. And, you know, that worked pretty well for many years because the man was in his masculine and the female was in her feminine. Then, when we got into wars, this might trigger and offend some people, but hey ho, it's my authentic view and it's my podcast. If it does trigger you or offend you, let me know in the comments. Men then went to war, and all of a sudden they were taught not to show emotions. We had to write death letters for if we got killed, and we were essentially trained to go and kill people without any thought or care and be ruthless. The other thing that happened during this period, whilst we were away in the army, was that women became very strong. They brought the kids up on their own. They had to earn money on their own. They looked after the house on their own, to the level where men came back from war and all of a sudden, many women were like, I don't really need you anymore. And then the man didn't feel needed, so he lost his masculine. The woman became very much in her masculine. And then we went through this weird period when there were all these feminine boys that were created. Men started smoking weed and growing long hair and piercing their ears and strumming guitars. Hardly masculine. Sorry if that offends you and you're a long-haired, earring-wearing guitar stringer who smokes weed. Anyway, probably offended a lot of people there, Lee, but we'll continue. So, what also then happened within that period, and you probably never realised this, when we're going to back in the old days, whilst it may have been fun, outside of a marriage, women didn't really have sex for fun. They might not even have had fun having sex in the marriage because contraceptive pills didn't exist. And then all of a sudden the whole world's changed. Drugs came out, alcohol came out, free love, acid house music, contraception, men behaving more like women, women being firmly in their masculine and running companies, and the whole thing has got very, very misconstrued along the way. And again, if these energies don't match in a relationship, it will be wildly off. A masculine woman and a masculine man are generally going to clash. We have some relationships now where there are far more feminine men. There's house husbands. I'm not slating it. Do what works for you. And there's very alpha masculine women. Now, the point of me sharing all that is you to realise that this has to work and the energies have to work, again, for relationships to work, because two feminines aren't going to work and two masculines aren't going to work. Now, fellas, listen up. Because I learned this from a very intelligent man. And it's again relating to masculine and feminine. Now, the reason so many women will not be in their feminine, which is their most beautiful, sexual, attractive state, energy, is because in order for a woman to be in her feminine, she needs a masculine man. That means she needs to feel safe. She needs to feel protected. She needs to feel loved. She needs to know that no matter what she throws at you, you're not going anywhere. And that she can trust you. And when you can be that man, then see how your woman behaves. Because the reality is, the opposite is happening. Every time, like, like, this is the best analogy I've used to describe it, right? I'm proper waffling here. I've not even started the training. I'm quite passionate about this. So women are emotional and men are logical. You can't fix an emotional problem with logic, and you can't fix a logical problem with emotion. Now, women are like ships on an ocean. And I'm sure, ladies, you'll agree with me on this. They're highly emotional creatures by nature. And trust me, the last thing a woman needs is a wishy-washy man who wants to be on her ocean with her, on her ship, rolling with her moods and basically probably making her feel like she's got an extra child. One of my therapists handed this to me on my arse once about the way I was behaving. I spoke something about an issue I was having with Nat, and she quickly replied to me, "I'm not surprised she's getting frustrated. It must be like having two children." Okay? Men should not be afraid to be masculine and to state what's going to happen. They're the leader, they're the provider, and they're the protector. So when she's the ship on her ocean, she doesn't need another ship on her ocean. She needs a fucking harbour. She needs something that's rock solid, that's rock concrete. Doesn't run off to the pub every time she gets angry. Doesn't agree with everything she says. Doesn't spend hours looking at other women and scrolling on Instagram and making her feel insecure. Doesn't pull her down. Is just loving, caring and trusting. And I also remember, this doesn't mean just that the man's in charge and he doesn't listen to his woman. This is something Peter Sage taught me, and there's a quite brilliant scene in, I'm sure it's 300, it's the movie, and there's the king and the queen energy. And, the king's going into war and he's going to risk his life and he's going to fight. But before he does, he still looks at his queen for permission, and she gives him the nod. You go fight that war. You go win that war. So he's not just saying, it's not an alpha kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Egocentric kind of vibe where, the man is just saying, I'm the man and you listen to me, and everyone falls into place. He's being the man, but he also looks for permission, he looks for acknowledgement, he looks for support. So there's a short lesson in those kind of relationships and how they work. And as I said, they can work both ways. But again, before I come on to these bits that I'm going to talk to, gentlemen, listen up, because I've heard this a lot from a lot of you and a lot of my clients. Men having problems about not getting enough sex, about their partner. This is a horrible phrase and don't ever use it. Heard someone say, I saw it on a post, she never puts out. That's disgusting, right? But the reality is, sorry guys, so many men are getting in from work, pissing and moaning, filthy hands, get in, expect their food on the table, haven't dated their partner in the last 5 years, no romantic, no intimacy, no love, no build-up, no mental stimulation, no romancing, and then they kind of wondering why she's not upstairs dripping wet, legs akimbo, waiting for party time at the end of the day. And then they kind of just reject her because obviously she doesn't want me, must be shagging someone else, right? And you have to think about the energy that you're giving out within relationships. Like, if you're not getting enough love and intimacy, focus on what you're giving, not what you're not getting. When did you last buy her flowers? When did you last take her out for dinner? When did you last romance her? When did you last initiate a bit of naughty conversation in the afternoon as part of a mental stimulation and build-up? When did you last buy her some sexy underwear? When did you last make her feel like a princess? When did you last make her feel in her feminine? When did you make her feel so beautiful, so sexy, so safe, so loved, so protected? Or did you just expect it? Because this goes both ways as well. okay? You know, a man needs to feel wanted. He needs to feel needed. If women charging around stating things like, I don't need a man, I don't need anything, that's not going to attract the masculine man that they truly want. Because they're basically, a man needs to feel needed. He needs to be the king. He needs to be the leader. And he needs a queen that's not behind him, but she's right beside him. So a little bit of coaching and information into relationships there. Hope that all made sense. I didn't offend too many people, but essentially both things work, masculine and feminine energy. And you can have a blend of both. Like, I have a blend of both. I can be very in my masculine when I need to be. And I can also be in my feminine when I need to, in terms of compassion and empathy. But again, that's a skill that's learned over time. Now, our intimate relationships are shaped by daily choices, daily actions, daily decisions. And just something as small as choosing to listen attentively to your partner when they speak, and to offer them kindness and compassion over judgment, to focus on everything you love and appreciate about them over what frustrates you, are all small steps over time to create an unbreakable bond of love, trust, and belonging. But we also have to have ownership. Like, we have to look in the mirror. Like, almost every single couple that I've worked with, or men I've worked with on relationships, or women that I've worked with on relationships, the first thing that happens is the man says, well, only if she could only be more like me. If only she didn't do X, Y, and Z. If only she did do X, Y, and Z. And the woman says exactly the same. Well, if only he could be more like me. He does this and it drives me round the bend. Flip it straight away. Tell me 10 things you love and appreciate about her. And all of a sudden, the energy completely changed. If you want more love, you want more sex, you want more intimacy, you want her to find you irresistible, or him to find you irresistible, but more so on the other side. You've got to make her feel loved. You've got to make her feel safe. You've got to make her feel protected, even in terms of, don't really want to get into talking about sexual intercourse, but not some women, but most women. Like, as a guy, have you considered how big a thing it is for a female to let another man insert himself inside her? That's a huge level of trust and intimacy and bonding and closeness that needs to be built. And, if she's not responding the way you want her to, then kind of go and look in the mirror, is my advice. So I also firmly believe, if we're in a relationship, not looking for one, our happiness will always be rooted in the quality and the connection of that relationship. If your relationship is toxic, if your relationship's not working, if your goals and values aren't aligned, then both of you are going to be miserable. I honestly believe that. And this bond and this trust and this love and this commitment and this connection is not created by occasional grand gestures and gifts. It's created by daily moments of love and care and presence. Like, this might sound really cheesy, but Nat and I have a thing where we'll kiss for 10 seconds and hold the kiss and make eye contact, because that's our connection and our bond. We'll always make sure that we say I love you and that we have a close cuddle before we go to bed. If one of us has upset the other one, we'll have a meeting about it. We'll talk and we'll communicate, and that's what it's all about. But it's got to be on both sides. And it's very often, we are very judgmental of our partners and vice versa, and we tend to focus on what they're not doing rather than what they are doing. But, the choice to be kind when you're tired, the choice to step up for her when she's tired, that's what a kingdom man does. That's what an alpha man does. I've got this. You don't need to worry. I've got this. I've got your back. You're safe. You're loved. You're protected. When a woman feels that, she'll do anything for you. If she doesn't feel that, then she's never going to feel secure enough to do the things that you probably are wishing she was doing on a regular basis. So it's the choice to be kind, compassionate, loving, and love unconditionally. Love is love. It can't have conditions. It can't be, I'll love you if X, Y, and Z. It has to be, I'll love you no matter what. So the choice to also express gratitude, because we always talk about it, for every little action, overtaking it for granted is massive. When did you last say thank you when you had a meal cooked for you? You know, thank you for tidying the house. Do you know what? I really appreciate everything that you did for the kids. Or, you know, to your husband, I know you work really hard and I just want you to know how much I love, appreciate and respect you. Like when Nat says something like that to me, like it means the world. Little gestures. I don't ever want to do life with anyone apart from you. It goes a long way. That gratitude, that appreciation. Because if you're not appreciating them, what are you doing? You know, to forgive and forget over holding a grudge. Let it go. And as I said, begin each day and end each day with a hug and the words that I love you. And sometimes not just to love you on the end of a call like we all do. Like, look your partner in the eyes and tell them how deeply you love them. Tell them how much they mean to you, how you couldn't live without them, how you love everything about them. These are the actions that create a life surrounded by loving relationships. And it's these small, repeated actions that are probably inauthentic, insignificant, not inauthentic. These insignificant gestures you're probably not aware of. When they become automatic behaviours, that's when it becomes easy. Because what you practice, you become. So if you're judgmental, pulling her down, not complimenting her, you know, probably you're not feeling good about yourself, and you will both mirror each other. You'll mirror each other in a relationship, trust me. And you also need to make sure your values are aligned. If you want different things, it's probably not going to work, and you need to have a conversation about that. Now, when I say what you practice, you become. So if you practice complaining, moaning, blaming, pulling her down, being tired, being miserable, never saying I love you, never showing appreciation and gratitude, never sending a cute little message in the day to make her smile, that will become your second nature. It'll just become where you live. Laughing and joking in front of your mates, all that bollocks, that toxic masculinity stuff. Whereas if you practice love and gratitude and appreciation and trust and little gifts and cards and all those types of things, that love and positivity and connection will become second nature. So practice positivity, practice love, practice gratitude until it becomes subconscious. Because the compounding effect of these practices in your relationship is what creates the foundation of a happy, loving, lasting relationships. And essentially, love, happiness and fulfillment are the product of how you choose to consistently think, speak, act and respond in regards to your partner. Guys, I hope that's been helpful. I absolutely love you all. Have the best day, and I'll see you on episode 24 when we're going to be talking about grit and resilience. Have an amazing day.